Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by PILMA. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. Today, we have RJon Robbins with us, the president and founder of How to Manage a Small Law Firm. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to talk today about something that I hear in the masterminds. We just had a big summit in New Orleans, just got through with that. And a lot of people, what I'm hearing is they're having problems figuring out how to hire really good people, keep them, train them, onboard them, So I felt like this would be a good topic that would resonate with our people out there today that's listening.
Sure. So you want me to just jump into it and talk about, give some ideas, some tips, some suggestions on how to recruit, onboard, hire, manage, make a profit with staff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So where do you start with this stuff? I mean, where do you find these people? I mean, how do you find them?
Right. So the biggest problem that I find, and we manage over 600 of some of the most successful, fastest growing law firms in all practice areas all over the country. And, I know that we have a lot of members in common. PILMA and How to Manage a Small Law Firm have a lot of members in common, but we do more than just personal injury law firms. We do every practice area imaginable. And the biggest problem that I find with hiring is the engineering for the position doesn't get done. So the law firm owner doesn't engineer the position ahead of time. They just start hiring, usually out of desperation. They don't plan far enough ahead, right? So step one is have a business plan, right? I mean, you wouldn't run any other kind of a business without a written business plan. You'd never invest in a restaurant. You'd never invest in a software company. Hopefully, you never invest in any kind of a business that's being run by someone, even if it's the smartest person in the world who works harder than anyone else. If they don't have a plan that explains how each of the 7 main parts of the business are supposed to work, and that's marketing, sales, production, people, physical plant, financial controls, and the goals of the owner, right? And of course, the people and the production is where this whole thing falls down, because it's the least sexy part of running a law firm. Everyone wants to talk about marketing and sales and marketing and sales, and but it's the people and the operations that actually make us wealthy. That's what gives us a great life, right? So start off with engineering the business plan to say, okay, where do I want this business to be in 5 years? Where do I want this business to be in 24 months? 24 months will go by so fast, it'll kick you in the ass and it won't even slow down as it walks over you into the future. I mean, you can see I already have next year planned, and it's not even the middle of this year. You got to start off with, where do you want to be 24 months from now, right? How much income do I want to be taking out of my business 24 months from now? In order to take that much income out of my business 24 months from now, how much revenue does the business have to generate? In order for the business to generate that much revenue, how many cases does the firm need to process successfully every quarter for the next 8 quarters, right? In order to process that many cases successfully in the next 8 quarters, what does the staff complement have to look like? How many attorneys will we need? How many paralegals will we need? How many legal secretaries will we need? Let's engineer, and then of course the marketing and the sales has to be engineered also, right? Then let's engineer each of those positions to be profitable, right? So you start off with the premise that if you're going to pay someone $1 of salary, you ought to be getting at least $3, ideally $5 back. Right. So for every dollar that the firm pays out, you ought to be getting at least $5 back. In some positions, sometimes I'm willing to go for 4, sometimes even 3. But general rule of thumb, I'm looking for a 5 times ROI on every dollar that I put out. Right. Well, that means that I have to engineer how is that position supposed to produce a 5x ROI. Right. In firms that bill hourly, this is really obvious. It's really simple to figure that out. But as many of your members, I guess all of your members do contingency, personal injury, you still can engineer this very, very accurately and very, very, you can predict this stuff. Personal injury law firms, contingency personal injury law firms are amongst the easiest, simplest businesses to predict the revenue of. They're really, really simple law firms to predict the revenue of, despite notwithstanding popular ideas to the contrary. So you figure that if one attorney can handle, I'm just going to make up an example. If one attorney can handle, let's say, 100 cases, 100 open active matters at a time, right? And let's just say that the average matter takes, again, I'm making up an example, 6 quarters to open and then close. That means on the outside, it'll be 6. On the inside, maybe it'll be, 3 or 4. But an average, let's just say it's 6 quarters, right? Or on the outside, I should say 8, but an average of 6 quarters, right? So that means that you take 100 active cases divided by 6. That means you're going to be closing around 15 or 16 cases a quarter, right? 15 to 16 cases a quarter. And before you accept a case into a personal injury contingency firm, you ought to have an idea for how much revenue the case is likely to generate and how much expense the law firm is going to have to incur to prosecute that case, right? And expenses aren't just expert witnesses and things like that. Expenses are also labor costs. How many attorney hours at what cost? How many paralegal hours at what cost? What is the real cost of prosecuting this case? So let's say, I'm just making this up, that we figured that this case is going to bring in, let's say the average case is going to bring in $50,000 in revenue, right? So it's going to be $50,000 a year, $50,000 in revenue, and the average attorney in your firm is expected to close 16 cases a quarter. So 16 times, let's say 16 times $50,000, $800,000 a quarter, times 4. So that attorney should be good for $3 million in revenue. Okay, but that's not $3 million in revenue. There's a cost associated with that $3 million in revenue, right? If you're paying that attorney, let's say $300,000 a year, right? That's $350,000 with benefits. And maybe that attorney needs, I don't know, 3 paralegals at $75,000 a piece. That's another $250,000. I mean, there's costs associated. There's the cost of acquiring the case. Anyway, the point I'm making here is all of this stuff can and should be figured out ahead of time so you can engineer the position to be profitable. Once you engineer the position to be profitable, then you know what you can afford to go to market with in terms of a comp structure, in terms of a comp plan, right? And this is the problem that most attorneys have. When you fail to engineer how profitable the position is supposed to be, then you're just looking at like market rate for hiring an attorney or market rate for hiring a paralegal. Like, who gives a shit what the market is willing to pay for a paralegal or an attorney? What I care about is how profitable can this person be for me, right? If the market is willing to pay $100,000 a year for a paralegal, and I can get that paralegal to generate $600,000 in revenue for me, well, I'm willing to pay $125,000 to $150,000 for that same paralegal because I'm looking for my 5x ROI. Well, if the market is going around paying $100,000 for a paralegal, and I'm willing to come in for $125,000 to $150,000 because I've engineered the position to be profitable for me, that's obviously going to give me a competitive advantage when it comes to recruiting. That's part number 1 of this. Part number 2 of this is job descriptions suck. Most job descriptions you read are ridiculous. I mean, they're embarrassingly bad. It's embarrassing to think that there is a lawyer out there. Listen to me, I'm talking to you. You claim to be able to be persuasive to a jury. If you claim to be persuasive to a jury, you ought to be persuasive to the job market in how you describe the job. It's the same thing. It's sales, recruiting, being persuasive to a jury, and sales. It's all the same thing. You have to make a persuasive case for why someone should want to invest the next 3-5 years of their career working with your firm. Right? Don't just say, we're looking for, imagine going in front of a jury and saying, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, We, the prosecution, want this, and we want that, and the jury doesn't give a shit. You have to put things in terms of the jury cares about. You have to let the jury understand that the decision they make on behalf of your client is a decision to make the world a better place for themselves, their children. I mean, don't you teach this? To
Yep.
do the same thing with your job descriptions. Make them persuasive. Speak to what's in it for the candidate, not just, reputable law firm seeks mindless robotic drone to do our drudgery for it. I mean, that's how most job descriptions read. You could do better than that, right? So second is you've got to make the job descriptions more persuasive, more enticing. Speak to what's in it for the candidate. Don't just leave it to the recruiter to come up with the job descriptions, right? Number 3, A players, right? There's A players, B players, C players, D players, and F players. We don't want F players. We don't want D players. We don't want C players. We don't even really want B players, right? If we accidentally hire a B player, it's because we thought we were hiring an A and we made a mistake and they're a B player and we think we can train them up to an A. A players have options, right? They want to know you have a plan for their future and that you can set them up for success. In How to Manage a Small Law Firm, we manage over 600 law firms. We have more than 100 employees, and we tell our candidates about what we're going to do with them to set them up for success when we're interviewing, when we're trying to attract them to come work for us in the first place. So, for example, we function as a fractional CEO and COO. You've been to our live quarterly meetings. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
We tell the candidates that your first 7 weeks on the job is nothing but training, 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 and training. We invest 7 weeks, almost 250 hours of nothing but training to set the person up for success. And A players like that. They want to know that you have a thoughtful, considerate, strategic onboarding program that's going to set them up for success. So you're not just going to be like every other, badly managed law firm where, onboarding looks like, hi, welcome aboard. Here's your legal paperwork. There's a coffee machine. There's the bathroom. Get to work. Give the person a month, please. I'm begging you. Don't let any new hire do a lick of productive work for you for at least the first 2 weeks, ideally 4 weeks. And if you really take the long-term success of your business seriously, you'll invest a month. Invest a month to set this person up for success. It's the best financial investment you'll make, better than the stock market, better than any kind of stock tip you're going to get, better than crypto, better than all the other shit you throw your money down the toilet on, is invest in setting up your staff for success. So think about this, Ken. If I were going to lease a piece of equipment to you, and every time I give this analogy, I have to make the disclaimer, I'm not saying that people are things. People are people. This is an analogy. All right. I don't want people writing in, RJon Robbins is an asshole and he treats people like things. No, people are human beings. I'm making an analogy. So ask me how many times I've learned this lesson the hard way. I have to make these disclaimers. So imagine I'm going to lease you this piece of equipment, right? And I say, hey, Ken, I got this piece of equipment. I'm going to lease it to you for $100,000 a year. It's going to produce $500,000 a year revenue for you. You'd be interested in leasing that equipment, right?
Yep.
I mean, you probably want to know, can I get 2? Can I get 3? I mean, how many pieces of equipment, if I can lease you a piece of equipment for $100,000 and it's going to give you reliably $500,000 of revenue, you want as much as you can get. But here's the thing. In order for this equipment to work properly, you have to install it on a level concrete pad that's at least 3 inches thick. Got it? Level concrete pad, at least 3 inches thick. And it needs special 220 voltage electrical current. What does it need? Special 220 voltage electrical current. And it needs proper ventilation. It needs a 3-inch concrete pad level, needs 220 electrical current, needs proper ventilation, and you got to feed it the right supplies or it's going to break. And if you do this proper installation, if you'll mount it on a 3-inch level concrete pad and you'll plug it into 220 voltage electric and you'll give it proper ventilation and you'll feed it the recommended supplies and maintenance program, it will reliably produce you $500,000 of revenue. Now, Ken, what are you going to do when this equipment gets delivered off the truck?
You'll properly install it, I hope.
Right. You're going to properly install it. But you know what most law firms do? What most law firms do is they take the equipment off the truck, they stick in the corner, they don't bother with the 3-inch concrete pad, they plug it into the 110 volt electricity, they open a window for ventilation and they feed it whatever shit they've got, and then they wonder why it doesn't work. And then they wonder why they have a problem with recruiting, because the best source of new candidates are your current employees. If you give your current employees proper onboarding, proper training, proper support, proper installation, they then have a successful experience working in your firm and they bring their friends at How to Manage. We've got husbands who recruit wives. We got wives who recruit wives. We got brothers who recruit sisters. We got daughters who recruit mothers. Our whole company, we have 100 employees. We got more family relationships that I can keep track of because we go out of our way to set people up for success. Well, that makes recruiting a lot more profitable. It makes the business grow a lot more easily. Anyway, so in summary, engineer the position to be profitable, job descriptions that are persuasive, demonstrate to us that you're a persuasive litigator. 3, invest in proper onboarding and installation. And then number 4, ongoing management. You know, managing employees takes work. I'm not going to lie to you. Managing employees takes work. Now, the return on your investment is fantastic. And the beautiful thing is you get the business up to about $1.5 million, $2 million in revenue, and you can hire a professional legal administrator who likes doing this kind of work, and they're better at doing this kind of work than you and me. But until you get to this place, you got to be willing to do the work of managing your staff, you know, and manage them like people. They're not things, they're people. They have hopes and dreams and goals and plans and problems and issues, right? You got to check in with them. You got to pay attention to their mood. You got to have regular standing feedback. You can't wait to the end of the year and then just say, you know, hey, you know, 9 months ago, you disappointed me. I know that you asked me about recruiting. This is directly related to recruiting because, as I said, your best source of leads for prospective new employees are your current employees, right? And the best group of people to help you recruit the A players onto your team, you as the owner of the firm should be the last person to interview a candidate. I'm the last person interviewing new hires. Later today, I've got 5 interviews scheduled. I'm the last person who's in. They've already spoken to at least 3 other people on my team before they talk to me, right? Well, if you create a great experience for your current employees, then they help you sell superstars on why they should want to be on your team also. I just went on a rant. I'm sorry. I spent the last.
No, that's okay. No, I've always said, I think, you know, keeping employees, I mean, I think they're not going to care till they know how much you care in their personal growth and development, and, you know, that you really give a shit about them.
We have a position at How to Manage a Small Law Firm called the Dream Manager. And the Dream Manager is based on a book called The Dream Manager. And the Dream Manager, basically, I mean, the position, every one of our 100 employees has an opportunity to sit down with a dream manager who works for us full time and talk about what are your financial goals? What are your personal goals? What are your professional goals? How can we as an organization help you make a plan to make progress towards and achieve your financial goals, your personal goals, your professional goals? And that might mean giving you flex time. That might mean giving you cross-training, interdepartmental cross-training. We've got 17 employees right now who are getting their very first opportunity to lead and run their own little group, right? So we have our daily stand-ups in the whole company. And so 17 of our employees are this quarter leading a daily stand-up with people who are senior to them and junior to them and all different. And this is like their first command. This is their first leadership opportunity and their growth opportunity, right? And we got people who are like in their 20s leading daily stand-ups with people who are in their 40s and 50s. You know, you got to take an active interest in helping people grow and develop and evolve. And when you do that, word gets out. Word also gets out when you don't.
Yeah. So you say daily stand-ups. Is that compared to a daily huddle? Or I mean, what is a daily stand-up?
Yeah, this is a scaling up. This is straight out of scaling up.
Yeah.
The burn harness, daily stand-up. So every day at exactly noon Eastern Standard Time, our entire company, all 100 employees, stop for 15 minutes to do a 15-minute daily stand-up. So people on the West Coast are stopping at 9 o'clock in the morning. People on the East Coast are stopping at noon. The whole company just stops for 15 minutes to do a daily stand-up. And we do it in interdepartmental groups of about 7, because 7 people is how long it takes to get, you know, if we did more than 7, it wouldn't be a 15-minute meeting.
Right.
We try to get different people from every department into each daily stand-up. So that way someone from marketing hears something going on with HR, and someone from HR hears something that's going on with IT, and someone with IT hears something that's going on with operations, and so on and so forth. And they bring it back to their own department and say, hey, I know something that's going on in HR that we should be aware of.
Yeah. So your process then in hiring people is, of course, engineering the deal and then creating a good ad, like you say, make it somebody would want. What I think it's still like marketing. What's in it for me? But then after you get that, and then you I guess you got somebody. I'm sure as big as you are, you got an HR department, but you got to have somebody that goes through all these resumes or whatever. And do you do anything special, like tell them to do something and then just get rid of those resumes where they didn't do it, so you can just get through the people that are not attentive, that are not.
Yeah, I learned this lesson from my brother-in-law when he was teaching college. And I don't know where he got this idea, but it was brilliant. I loved it. On the final exam, in the instructions for the final exam, he would say, the answer to question number, 26 is C. And he said a third of his students would not get that question right, even though he told them the answer in the instructions, because they don't read the instructions, right? So in the instructions, we tell people, put your name backwards in the subject line. Just put your name backwards in the subject line. So instead of putting Ken Hardison, you say Cardison, semicolon, Ken.
Right.
And literally a third of the candidates don't do that. Well, we don't even bother to look. I originally had to do this because I didn't have an HR department. I didn't have any employees. I didn't have anyone helping me. I was doing everything myself. I was overwhelmed. I didn't have enough time to do everything. And I had to find efficient ways to cut through the noise. And I figured anyone who wasn't reading the instructions on when they're applying for a job is someone who probably won't follow instructions later on. And so if the subject line was wrong, I didn't even bother to look at the resume. Next is we have everyone do a written quiz. And the written quiz is spectacularly entertaining when you see what is revealed in the written quiz. We ask some intentionally provocative questions in the written quiz, and people take the bait and they lose their mind. And it's amazing how quickly you can suss out that you're dealing with someone who, let's just say, is not a person you'd want to be working with by giving them a written quiz. We then have them go through, if anyone hasn't done so yet already, I would highly recommend you read the Who Hiring Method, the book. We've just taken the Who Hiring Method to a whole new level. And then, like I said, we have them go through at least 3 interviews before they get to me. Whoever the hiring manager is, whoever is most desperate to get that position filled, should be the last person interviewing candidates, because we're desperate, right? I'm desperate. I'll see potential in anyone, right? If you're watching this, or if you're listening to this, and you don't have a lot of people on your staff who can help you interview candidates, you have a spouse or a significant other, you have a best friend, you have a professional colleague, right? So have your spouse or your best friend interview the candidate for whether you will like to work with this person. And their only job, your best friend or your spouse or significant other, their only job when they interview the candidate is to say, you know what, Ken, I don't know whether this is a good lawyer or not a good lawyer because I'm not a lawyer. I mean, I am a lawyer, but this is like, imagine your best friend, right? Is to say, look, I'm not saying whether this person will be a good lawyer or a bad lawyer. I'm telling you that I'm your best friend. I've known you for years, and this person's going to drive you fucking crazy. Don't hire this person. Or if you do, you're not allowed to come home and complain about how crazy this person is driving you, because I'm telling you now, this person will drive you nuts.
Yeah.
Done. Number two, have a professional colleague who practices in your practice area, but not in your city, right? Have them interview the candidate to find out if the person is competent or not, right? So have a lawyer who does personal injury, for example, in another city. They don't even have to be in your same state, to interview them to find out. And this person will say, Ken, listen, I understand that the laws might be different in your state than in my state. I understand that the local rules might be a little bit different, but this motherfucker doesn't know shit about personal injury. I punched through their bullshit in 30 seconds. So now you got your spouse or significant other telling you about the person's personality fit for you. You got your best professional colleague telling you about whether this person is qualified as an attorney to do the job, right? And then have them interview with someone on your team, someone who works in the office, and have that person come back to you and say, Ken, listen, I would not be happy working with this person, or this person would be a great cultural fit for us. And then you, as the most desperate person in the firm, comes last, and you're basically interviewing the person to find out what are their hopes and dreams and goals and plans, and can this firm be a good vehicle to help them achieve their goals?
Right.
And if it can't, tell them and don't bother hiring them.
Do you do anything like the DISC or the Wonderlic or anything like that when you're hiring people?
We do Colby. I like
Colby.
Colby.
Yeah. We just
It's
had a
491.
girl. We had a, yeah. Your
And
what?
there's a Colby C, and Colby C is really good. Colby C will, so you will take a Colby C and it will tell you what you're looking for in an executive assistant, for example.
Yeah, we
or
do
if you
that.
have
We
an
do that at
attorney and
Pillman.
you're looking to hire a paralegal for the attorney, have that attorney do the Colby C, and it'll say, this is what they should be looking for in a paralegal to work with them to make it a good fit.
So you're a 6491.
Yeah. 6
Man,
is fact finder. 4 is systems. I'm a 9 quick start, high quick start, and a 1 is like everything's in my mind. I don't need to have charts and graphs and diagrams.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a 8572. Yeah.
8572. You know what? That makes a whole lot of sense. In all the years I've known you, I'm a 6 fact finder. You're an 8, which means you need a lot more information before you're comfortable. I'm a 9 quick start. Once I have enough information, boom, I'm ready to go. You've got enough information and you're still processing and thinking, and not bad or good. It just drives me a little bit crazy. Come on, Ken, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We got all the information. Let's go.
I know.
We've had a conversation like that or two over the years.
I'm sure you have if you're 9.
No, with you. I mean, you and me have had that conversation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've started implementing that. I actually had Erica Cavanis come and talk to at the Pillman Summit last week, and I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, I think it can really help you. I mean, I'm real big into testing, but I really think, you were talking about paying more. I think what I've come to realize, and I've read it, and it's true, is that if you can get an A player, it's better to pay them 25, 50% more because they're going to do 2 to 3 times more work than a B player is. For the most part.
That's not even the real calculus that I use.
Really?
Remember I said earlier that I'm looking for a 5x ROI. Sometimes I'll settle for a 4. Sometimes I'll even go down to a 3, right? Because I'm willing to go to a 4x ROI or a 3x ROI to the extent that a person doesn't require my attention, right? So if someone needs you got to factor the cost of your time or the cost of someone's time to manage this person, right? That's part of why you got to get the ROI. So if I could pay someone, let's say $250,000 a year and get $1,250,000 of productivity out of them, that'd be a 5x ROI, right? But they require, let's say, 10% of my attention. I'd rather get someone and pay them $300,000 a year for that same $1,250,000 of revenue if they require only 5% of my attention, because in my mind, I'm buying back 5% of my bandwidth for only $50,000, which is, to me, that's a great value. I think a lot of people fail to account for the value of their time, the value of their leadership team's time managing and supervising people, which goes all the way back to, they don't take the time to engineer the position to be profitable. They don't take the time to devise a proper recruiting strategy to screen out the people you ought not be wasting your time with. And they don't take the time to really quantify the ROI on a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week, in my case, 7-week onboarding process to set the person up for success. Because I'm looking to pay this person $250,000 a year, for example. I'm expecting them to generate $1.2 million, $1.5 million in revenue per person, right? And I'm hoping that they're going to be with me for 3, 4, 5 years. What kind of idiot do I have to be to squander all of that because I don't want to invest a month to set them up for success? That's just stupid. Unfortunately, I'm probably insulting a lot of people in your audience because that's exactly what a lot of people do. They do some pretty stupid things.
Yep. You don't know what you don't know. That's for sure. So
I've learned all this stuff the hard way. I'll tell you that.
Oh, most of my lessons have been learned that way. Some more expensive than others with money or time. But yeah, that's the ones that we don't forget, I think, the best.
So they say the school of hard knocks employs a cruel teacher. They give you the test first and teach you the lesson later.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I've done some pretty stupid things.
Oh, we all have, but the deal is we keep going and try not to do it twice. That's the key.
Yeah.
I think.
So tell me more. What else is your audience interested in? What else I'm just here to, by the way, I should preface this. I got nothing to sell. I got no free reports. I got no free offers. I don't have any pitch for you. I'm just here because we're friends and you asked me to be on your podcast and I said yes, because I'm always happy to pay it forward.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to read Profit First for Lawyers book, I mean, I guess the book you can buy on Amazon that I wrote. But other than that, I got nothing to sell.
Yeah.
Any other waiting list for how to manage a small law firm. So I really got nothing to sell.
So you said the Who book. I think that's by one of the brothers. I can't remember their name.
Someone who's not me wrote the Who hiring method. Someone who is not me wrote the other book that I recommended. I forgot which one that was. I wrote Profit First for Lawyers. And what else can I help you with? What else can I pay it forward?
I think this has been great. I think this has been great. This has been good. Good nuggets out of this. So thank you. So if anybody wants to get in contact with you or whatever.
How to manage a small law firm. We have a waiting list, but we're happy to share. So basically the way it works is you get in touch with us, we talk to you, we'll do a diagnostic, we'll tell you whether we think we can help or we can't help. If we don't think we can help, we won't waste your time because we don't want to waste our time. If we do think we can help, we'll basically just start sharing free resources with you and let you grab a spot on the waiting list. And then, if you want to get off the waiting list, get off the waiting list or wait your turn. At any given time, the waiting list might be 6 months, 9 months. I mean, at one time it was stretching out 18 months. That was pretty painful for me more than anyone else. Having people sitting on the waiting list, sharing free resources for 18 months was kind of, I'd rather tell people there's a waiting list than lower my standards and hire less than A players.
Right. Well, good deal. Well, thank you so much, my friend. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for all your insights. And hopefully I'll see you the next time I'm in that Florida area, southeastern Florida.
Thanks for having me on the podcast. And thanks. Listen, I mean, like I said, we've got a number of members in common who are both members of How to Manage a Small Law Firm and PILMA. And I know you do great work with them in the PILMA side of it. And hopefully you're hearing good things about what we're doing with them.
I am.
How to manage a small law firm side of it. So it's a great relationship. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, sir. Take care. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.